when Robin Williams appeared on the Inside Actors Studio in 2001. An audience member laughed so hard at one of his jokes that he developed a hernia and had to be rushed to the hospital in an ambulance. In 2012, a movie theater in Beirut was raided for showing K-porn, and 36 men were arrested and subjected to anal examinations to determine their sexual orientation. In Lebanon, people can be charged with intercourse contrary to nature, specifically intercourse that involves anal penetration, and can receive up to a year in prison. In the past few decades, some morbidly obese patients have been sent to zoos for MRI and CT scans because standard hospital machines can't accommodate their weight. Zoos have bigger machines designed for large animals, making them practical solutions in these extreme cases. Chicago's Iroquois Theater was advertised as absolutely fireproof when it first opened in 1903, but the building only lasted 37 days before being destroyed by a massive fire that killed 602 people, in the deadliest single-building disaster in the United States until 9/11. Iconic actor Jack Nicholson has faced his fair share of legal controversies over the years. In 1996, he reportedly assaulted an unnamed Hollywood socialite at a party and ruptured her breast implants. Then that same year, he allegedly promised a prostitute named Catherine Sheehan $1,000 for sex and then assaulted her when she asked for the money. He received a $40,000 settlement, but later argued that this was insufficient to cover her injuries, including brain damage, which she said was actually killing her. In 1849, Henry Box Brown escaped from slavery by shipping himself in a small wooden crate from Virginia to Philadelphia. Despite the instructions on the box of handle with care and this side up, carriers placed the box upside down or handled it roughly several times. 350 miles and 27 brutal hours later, Brown stepped out of the box a free man and went on to become a magician. When later asked why he went to such an extreme to escape slavery, Brown was quoted saying, "If you've ever been deprived of liberty as I was, you cannot realize the power of that hope of freedom." Ohio sex worker Linda Lassess prompted a multi-state public health alert after police discovered she'd slept with more than 200 clients while knowing she was HIV positive. Officers worked hard to contact her clients and suggest getting tested so they could seek the proper treatment. Randy Woodfield was drafted by the NFL to play for the Green Bay Packers in 1974, but was soon cut from the team due to a series of indecent exposure arrests. He would go on to become the I-5 killer and is believed to have been responsible for over 40 murders throughout the early 1980s. Just last year, a 23-year-old man died from a catastrophic spinal injury while playing at a Topgolf with some friends. In what was described as a prank gone wrong, his drunken friends had pushed him off the platform, causing him to miss the safety netting and fall 12 feet directly onto his head. Instead of improving working conditions and wages, Foxconn installed these safety nets throughout their locations in China to prevent workers from taking their lives. Foxconn is one of the world's largest contract electronics manufacturers and the largest producer of iPhones in the world. Just 2 days after his 18th birthday, star football player Warwick Dunn lost his police officer mother in a fatal shooting while she was off duty. But despite this, Dunn raised his 5 siblings while in college and was selected as the 12th overall pick in the NFL draft. He's since funded and built over 150 homes for single mothers, using his wealth to improve their lives. In 2008, suspected serial killer Ricky Simmons was found dead of heat stroke in the trunk of his ex-girlfriend's car. Investigators believe Simmons was waiting in the trunk to ambush and murder his ex-girlfriend when he became locked in the vehicle. A few years after receiving a bone marrow transplant to treat his leukemia in 2019, Nevada man Chris Long discovered that the DNA in his blood and semen had been completely replaced by that of his donor. Long had essentially become a chimera, a person with 2 different sets of DNA. He was quoted saying, "I thought it was pretty incredible that I can just disappear and someone else can appear." Experts say this was an extremely rare case, but one that raises serious questions about forensic evidence at crime scenes. In 2022, James Grimes won an air guitar competition while on a cruise to Mexico, which was the last thing he remembered before waking up overboard in the Gulf of America without a single ship in sight. Grimes had to tread water for over 18 hours and endure countless stings from 2 swarms of jellyfish before he was finally rescued by the Coast Guard. 17-year-old Lisa Noland planned to take her own life just before she was abducted by serial killer Bobby Joe Long. He raped her several times and held her hostage for 26 hours until she managed to convince him to let her go. Lisa got the man captured, while the traumatic experience gave her a new lease on life and inspired her to become a police officer. In 2012, tragedy struck when 30-year-old newlywed Maria Pantazopoulos was having some trash the dress photos taken in Montreal while wearing her wedding dress. She was only standing in about a foot of water on a river when her gown became waterlogged, quickly pulling her deeper and deeper underwater as her dress suddenly weighed up to 100 pounds. The photographer did everything he could to save her before Maria cried out, "I can't anymore, it's too heavy," and then she let go. Her body was recovered by a scuba diver 2 hours later. In 2008, a college student from Belgium decided to heat up some leftover spaghetti that had been sitting out on the kitchen counter for 5 days. He told his parents that it tasted strange, but figured it was the new tomato sauce that he added to the pasta. After eating the entire bowl, he headed out to play some soccer but had to return home 30 minutes later while suffering from severe abdominal pains, headaches, and nausea. He then vomited for several hours before finally managing to fall asleep, but he never woke up. The man's lifeless body was discovered the next morning after he died from an extreme form of food poisoning known as Bacillus cereus, aka fried rice syndrome. A German company that sells cleaning equipment used its power washers to create this incredible image of Godzilla on a Japanese dam. BBC's billboard for their Dracula series may have confused drivers during the day, but the true genius behind it became clear by the night. To promote a sale, clothing company Superette created benches with etched lettering to temporarily brand people with their ad. Ancient Greek prostitutes would often advertise via their shoes, which imprinted the words "Follow me" in the sand. This brilliant 1960s Coca-Cola ad was made by spreading grains for pigeons in St. Mark's Square in Venice. The bug repellent company Orphea used adhesive to turn their billboard into a massive mosquito trap, eventually revealing the spray. The 3M company, which produces bulletproof glass, put $3 million inside a glass box at a bus station with the slogan, "If you can break it, you keep the money." After 24 hours, not a single person managed to break it. If you haven't been following along, 95-year-old actor Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy, along with one of their dogs, were found dead in their New Mexico home on February 26th. The bodies were found in separate rooms and both showed signs of mummification. The investigation found that Gene appeared to have collapsed near the kitchen, while his wife was found in a bathroom next to an open bottle of prescription meds, with many concluding they both passed from carbon monoxide poisoning as no foul play was suspected. But just today, the chief medical examiner announced that it's reasonable to assume that Betsy died 7 days before her husband did. Her official cause of death was hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, a respiratory illness that's transferred from rodents to humans. Gene died of cardiovascular disease with Alzheimer's as a significant contributory factor. The details still remain unclear, but it's suspected that Betsy suddenly passed away from the rare illness, leaving Gene without a caretaker to administer his meds, resulting in his tragic death 7 days later. Drake and Josh came to an abrupt end because Crazy Steve murdered Josh along with his parents and kidnapped Megan. He then fled with her to Seattle, changed their identities, and gave her Stockholm Syndrome, while brainwashing her into believing that they were siblings and their father was lost at sea. Crazy Steve was only crazy as a result of years of being neglected by his own family, but Carly helped fill in this void, allowing Steve to act far more sane while reigniting his passion for art. Crazy Steve also attempted to murder Drake and he survived, but suffered from serious brain damage and amnesia as a result of the attack. This is why when Drake visits Carly in iCarly, he asks her,
"Where's Josh? Where's Mom and Dad?"
Carly triggered the memory of his family, but he couldn't remember what happened to them. Eventually, someone recognizes Carly from her web show, finally prompting the arrest of mass murderer Crazy Steve. This is why Crazy Steve can be seen in a mental asylum in the iCarly spin-off Sam and Cat.